Okay, so we can start. We're waiting for 2 minutes. And hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar. Or if you're watching a replay, thanks for watching the replay. It's Demian here, and I have a very, very special guest today, Alex. I want to give a quick introduction of how we met. My real profit was actually hunting for Tracio to become a client. But once I met Alex, I know that it was not possible because he's so into data that he actually started teaching me stuff that he knows. So few years ago, I don't remember exactly. It was 2 years or 3 years ago. We
I think
started
it's
chatting
three
on
three years already.
Yeah, we started chatting on LinkedIn. I showed Alex our platform. He was very surprised. And then he started giving me some advices of how to improve the platform. So I offered Alex to become a strategic advisor to improve our product. So meet Alex, our strategic advisor at My Real Profit, Amazon advertising expert, founder of Sync Agency, Sync Software that's coming soon. Yeah, it's not yet live, but I already saw something and it's very, very robust. It's very, let's call it advanced in terms of advertising. And guys, if you're using My Real Profit, Alex is the person that is behind of our advertising analytics. He was the one who invested a lot of time, a lot of energy into every tab, every table, every metric, as well as other reports. So, Alex, I'm gonna pass you the microphone. I'm very excited to hear and listen what you will tell us today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Damian. Thanks a lot for the introduction and also for the invitation. Hey everyone. So today we're going to talk about one of my most beloved topics. It's Amazon ads, and we'll talk about how to stop burning money on Amazon ads. And for that, obviously, I need to share my screen. Let me do that real quick. Why am I sharing already? Are people able to see it? All right, perfect. Thanks a lot. So I've prepared some slides, and if you're expecting, negating search terms that are not converting, or building exact match campaigns or stuff like that, I'm not telling you about these things today. I have a bunch of topics, so I'll want to be quick because I know we just have like 1 hour of time. So the topics we are touching today, and we mainly just touched them briefly, are about wrong pricing, wrong advertised ASIN, branded CPCs. We'll talk about modifiers, placements. We talk about VCPM campaigns, Amazon sponsored prompts, which is a new thing in the US, off Amazon traffic, and just new advertising features in general. So there's a bunch of things I want to discuss with you guys. If you have any questions in between, just use the chat, let us know. I'm happy to discuss something live here. So it can be less of a presentation and more like of a discussion, if you want to say so. And let's just get right into it. So the first topic is about price and PPC. I have been a big believer some years ago that PPC is the one and only thing you need to do. And this is like your savior, and it helps you drive volume, and it helps you drive your overall business. But I've learned throughout the last years that price and PPC are two distinct things that you need to balance. And there's specific cases where PPC works way better than price, but there's also specific cases where price is your main lever on the platform. So one of these topics, how to stop burning money, is don't just throw everything into PPC. Don't think PPC is your always on solution, because it's not. And sometimes price is your better solution. And let me tell you why this is. When we look at these two different levers, price is a thing that affects everything from your listing. Every visibility, every customer sees that price, every search, every eyeball, everyone sees a lower price, or if you increase the price, also a higher price. But price affects everything, while PPC is typically more targeted, more selected. You select search terms that you want to, basically you select keywords that you want to target. And this is typically just a fraction of all of your searches. So PPC is selective. Sometimes it's time-bound, temporary. Most of the time it's always on. However, it's only affecting a fraction, while price is affecting everything. and that makes it important because price affects everything. However, if you don't have any visibility, then a price change doesn't have any impact, because if nobody sees you have now the best price on the market, then there's no more volume to gain, because price changes need to be seen. So what does it mean for you? If your product has already established visibility, you have organic sales, you have organic rankings, then price might be your better lever for improving conversion, for improving volume, for whatever. If you don't have any visibility, then changing a price will not help anything, because no visibility, nobody sees the price change. So you will need PPC. And I also brought some just very recent case studies with me today. So here's one specific search term that we have been bidding on. You can see how much we spend per day, and you can see how the organic rank measured with Helium 10 was doing. And this product just launched back in mid-January. So, this is the main search term that we try to rank for, and we've been pushing it and so on and so forth. And what you can see here looks in the first place, it looks very counterintuitive. My PPC spend goes down actually from around, I don't know, $50 a day or $40 a day. It goes down to $8 a day. My organic rank goes up. And this is like, what's going on here? Lower PPC impacting the organic ranks positively? No, actually, what happened here is we changed the price on the product. And because the margins are now so thin, we needed to pull back the marketing spend to still have some margins left for break even and whatnot. So when we look at the overall picture, you can see this is a parent selling a 4-pack, a 2-pack, and a 1-pack. And the 2-pack, we changed the price from, you can see it here in this line chart. It's a little tough to see, but the blue chart is where the price was before, around, let's say, 15, 16, has been going up and down depending on some coupon activities as well. And then we changed it to $9.99. And immediately you can see on the blue bar charts here, the organic effects are getting in. Strong demand, organic ranks pumping. You can see the organic ranks here pumping as well. And this has nothing to do with us pushing PPC. We actively pulled back PPC because we knew at $9.99 our margins are like that. So every additional dollar for a click will hurt us. So let's pull back PPC. Let's run the pricing. And this is kind of this story here that helped us gain organic ranks. We are now in the top 15, which is great for this product. And overall, the story here is kind of conclusive with this other story here, where you can see organic ranks. And this is like, I've never seen it like that before, but this looks like really, really amazing for me. You can see the price tracked with Keepa, and you can see this is usually being at $95.99, so $60. However, in this time frame, they were running a best deal and they dropped the price. You can see on the green chart here as well, it had an effect on the BSR immediately. So BSR went down, obviously, more units sold. And Helium 10 immediately on the day, when the price dropped, January 11. So the charts are actually, reversed. This is going from December to January here, and this is going from December to January here. But the time when they dropped the price, you can see organic ranks pumped to top 10. And before it was like page 5 or 6. So there was nothing done with PPC in this case. Only the price change triggered organic rank improvements. And I think that's kind of the first learning here I want to give to you guys, that price and PPC, they don't work against each other, they work with each other. And it's about making the right balanced approaches and figuring out the playbook. When do you want to push with PPC and when do you want to push with a better price, and how to kind of balance both together. All right, the next point is the advertised ASIN, because most sellers, if we're honest, they don't just have one child to sell. Typically, they have multiple SKUs. Typically, they have parents with multiple childs in it. And if you have more than one parent, or let's say you have at least one parent who has multiple childs in it, you need to make the decision, what ASIN do you want to advertise? And this is typically where I see also lots of people failing, because it's not that easy to make that decision. It looks obvious. And you can ask yourself this question here. So this is an example of a product where the parent has 3 childs. A child with a 1-pack, with a 2-pack, and a 4-pack. The 1-pack is at 19.99, the 2-pack at 29, the 4-pack at 40. So with each additional bigger package, the per unit count or the per count price goes down. And which child would you advertise in this case? Would you go with the cheapest overall, $20? Would you advertise this? Or would you go with the cheapest by count and advertise the $40 product? Or would you eventually take the middle ground here and advertise the 2-pack? And the answer is not that simple. It's not, it doesn't come down necessarily only to the price. And I'll give you another example why this is important, what ASIN you are advertising versus what ASIN you're not advertising. I gave you an easy example. 3 childs, it's the same product, it's just more count. But there's other examples where you sell different sizes and you sell different pack sizes as well. You sell all the different whatever it is. Sometimes it's the same product, but it's just named differently. Sometimes it's a deluxe version, a travel version. Sometimes you have colors. And you need to pick 1, 2, or 3 ASINs you want to advertise. You need to make a decision. You need to make a decision here. You cannot advertise all the ASINs. If you advertise all the ASINs, Amazon will make the decision for you. And typically, that's not in your best interest always. So you have to come up with the decision what ASIN to advertise, and to help you come up with those solutions for yourself. The real questions you need to answer or ask yourself is, what do you optimize for with that specific campaign or with that specific portfolio or with that specific setup that you have? Do you actually just optimize for ACOS? If you optimize for ACOS, then maybe a higher priced ASIN is better positioned because more AOV means eventually lower ACOS. If you optimize for total profit, then maybe also a higher price ASIN is better situated as a low price product. If you optimize for organic ranks, I just showed you the example, then maybe you go with a cheaper price and a cheaper priced option. And for sell-through, obviously, you typically want to go with the cheapest option. And I'll give you kind of an example from 2 slides earlier where you saw this kind of child or parent that I showed you. And usually what you would think is like the cheapest child here, this is the one that has the best conversion rate and also the best click-through rate. And in fact, it's not right. This one has, in fact, the highest CTR. So people click this way more often than they would click on this item. However, the best conversion rate in this scenario actually has this item. And the reason is not that obvious. The reason is customers are searching for a solution. And sometimes the solution you're offering is not the best for their needs. Even though it's the cheapest, it's not necessarily the best. So this is a very small item, basically, a very small blanket. And this is a medium-sized blanket, and people prefer the medium-sized blanket over the small-sized blankets. And that's why the conversion rate of this item is actually with 15% way higher than this with 11% in this specific campaign. And you can see, advertising different charts here, that they all come in at different ACOS and different CTRs. And in the end, if you give Amazon the decision that we gave them here in this scenario, we said, hey, here's 3 ASINs. Amazon, you decide where you push the traffic. You see, Amazon decides to push the traffic typically to the cheapest ones because Amazon wants, lots of sell-through. However, for your decision, maybe just advertising this one is the better decision, has the best ACOS. Eventually, it brings in even the best profitability. If you want to rank, then maybe you go with the cheaper options because you have more sell-through, more purchases, and this is helping you better with organic ranking. If you go for profits, then maybe you go with this option. And, there's one other thing here. There's also this size, for example, and this now it gets like a little bit more tricky. This one can also be advertised, but maybe just on specific keywords, for example, that keywords that contain large or, oversized or something like that. Then you want to advertise this one. On your regular terms, you want to advertise this one. And if you want to go for organic ranks or you want to go for sell-through, you advertise this one. Depending on your strategy and your tactics, you might choose a different ASIN. And that is, something I don't know for your catalog, but there's something you should figure out. What is my best ASIN for that search term? Or at least what is my best ASIN in that parent to advertise? And typically this is your hero ASIN, your hero SKU, the one that is making the most revenue. But there might be exceptions to this, like inventory related exceptions, the keyword universe, like I said, specific customer searches where a different child fits better. Like if something is on promotion and your hero is not, then maybe it's better to advertise the one on the promotion, because promotions mean better price, means urgency, means typically better click-through rates, and so on and so forth. Or as I said, rankings could also be kind of an exception to just advertise the hero SKU. And last thing here, from time to time, it's also good to challenge what is my hero SKU. Sometimes it's very easy and very obvious if a child is doing 80% of the revenue, then probably you don't need to challenge that. But sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes one ASIN is doing 60% of the revenue, another one is doing 40, and then there's 50 and 40, and then there's two that are doing 5%. And maybe this 40% revenue ASIN can become the hero if you push it and if it makes sense. And kind of challenge status quo always makes sense. All right, let's go on. How to stop burning money with branded CPCs? If you are a CPG company, and I hope many of you are, then branded traffic is a huge thing. You're investing a lot into influencers, you're investing a lot into external traffic, you're investing into Amazon creator connections, you invest into TV, you invest in Meta to D2C, you invest everywhere, and you want your branded traffic to be as efficient and as useful as possible. And the reality is you can increase your CPCs a lot, and eventually you will pay the price for that as well. So what I typically would suggest people is see how low you can go with your branded CPCs. Here's a real life example just from the most recent time where we brought down this branded CPC from above $3 to, we started to test this year, and it was very simple what we did. Every day we inched down the bid by, 10 cents. Then we looked at, the performance, another 10 cents, another. When we were here at 150, I was like, okay, sales look like they are coming down. So, you see you have some late attribution at that time when we were here. I was thinking, okay, maybe we were a bit too low. Let's bring it back up a little bit more again. And, now after some time, I can see, hey, sales, if I would apply a weekly graph here or whatever, you would see sales are basically flat. CPCs are almost minus 50%. So we could save 50% on the click and still got the same amount of advertised attributed sales. And that is actually a good thing because nobody wants to pay high CPCs. You want to be as efficient as possible, and especially with your branded traffic. There's also another thing on branded. Sometimes people are, not bidding on your top of search terms because they are too scared that the bids are too high and that they're not converting really well. So what I'm also seeing is sometimes your top of search has a very low CPC versus rest of search. And, all of that to say, play around with that. Don't take it for granted. Just because you put in $4 bid and you get in $3 CPC doesn't mean you need to pay these $3. See if you really need to pay them. If the sales are sticking, if they are flat, if they're incrementally still coming in at the lower CPC, then that's perfect. You can increase your budgets or whatever. And what are you doing? And here's another just example on how we pull back branded spend in total. So you can see branded spend was like around 100K here, then 80, whatever. And in April, we're coming in at maybe 70K. And you can see sales actually even improved. Not necessarily because we pulled back, but because the brand is doing a lot of things very well. And we can pull back on our investment. We can pull back our CPCs. We don't need to pay such high amount of CPCs and total budget for the branded because the sales are coming in anyways. And this is money that you can invest into other keywords, into your new to brand customers, into your ranking campaigns, or you toss it into TikTok. Wherever you want to put it, it's probably better invested than in branded most of the time. But see it for yourself. And how we measure, if we are still getting, enough branded share, we use SQP data, and it's not a secret. I'm using MyReprofit every day, and on MyReprofit you can see, in the SQP reports, you just type in your brand, contains your brand name, and then you'll see by week, are we still holding our purchase share, and is this still 90%? Typically the benchmark is around 90%. If you hold 90%, that's great. If you can go above, that's even better. You can also look at your click shares if they are high enough, and so on and so forth. And when you would pull back too much, you will see it on the purchase share. You will see it on the impression share. If that drops too much, you can see here, impression share dropped a little bit, but purchase share stayed high. So not a problem, right? And that's how you can kind of measure, not only on the ad side, but also, on the organic side or the total side.
Honestly, you are covering all my questions. I was like about to ask you a question, and it's already covered. So I don't have I don't even have something to add. The only thing that I can add here is obviously it's all about testing. Yeah, so sometimes this might work and sometimes it might not. But 100% agree. For me personally, it's an insight that you can lower. So what you said, that if your bid is $4 and you're paying $3, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to pay those $3. You can actually pay less. Yeah, I think a lot of people they have this mindset that Amazon algorithm is working in the way where you can put like $5 bid, but you will pay the lowest. Yeah, but that, based off what you said, it's not working like that. So Amazon also can give you cheaper traffic, from my understanding, if your product is as like the most relevant product. Yeah, because Amazon is also interested to keep a high conversion rate and also keep a relevant search engine results page for a customer. And that's basically the answer. If it's a branded term, don't be scared to put lower CPCs, because you can still capture your branded search volume. You can still defend, because everyone is putting on their branded terms because they want to defend their brand. So you're still able
because it also makes lots of sense. You paid hundreds, thousands, millions, whatever on external, so that you get these branded searches on Amazon, and then you don't want to give them away for sure. I mean that makes sense. But yeah, I agree with what you said.
Yeah, by the end of the day, you still guys paying Amazon 15% on referral fee, so they're still gonna make their money. So at least you can.
Yeah, you're also paying. Even if you pay just $2 for branded or $1.50, that's another $1.50 per each click that you pay in Amazon Ads CPCs. And obviously, I think we all have the same incentives. We want to pay as little as possible to Amazon Ads for this, as much as possible revenue. If we can reduce bids or budgets and we can still get the same revenue, the same incremental revenue, then this is great. Nobody wants to pay more to Amazon. Amazon is already taking such a high tax, advertising visibility tax. All right, but that's a different topic. Let's talk about B2B modifiers. And before we talk about that, maybe just a little introduction for those who are not aware that this is a thing, or don't know that those things exist. When you create a sponsored product campaign, you can select between two sites: Amazon and Beyond, which means the Amazon platform and the Amazon Business Platform, and eventually also other apps of Amazon in the future. These retail, connected retail, and whatever. And you can select Amazon Business, just purely Amazon Business. Then it's not on the Amazon D2C store, and it's just on the Amazon Business store. All the campaigns that have been created before 2025, they are all Amazon and Beyond. This new feature that you can enable Amazon Business is rather new, maybe a year old. If you're in your campaign and you look into the bid adjustments and you don't have Amazon Business placement adjustment, that means it's an Amazon Business only campaign. Because in that, obviously, you cannot adjust the modifier for your own placement. Only in this Amazon and Beyond, you get Amazon Business placement. And what you can do there, you can increase the bids just like any other placement. So you can go from 0 to 900%. And typically, and here's another question for you guys, you can think how you would deal with that situation. You go into your campaigns, let's say you're an operator, or maybe you're a brand and you're just like curious and you want to see, and you go into your Amazon business placement in the campaign and you'll see, okay, Amazon business, okay, let me see what we got here. 75 clicks, 31 purchases, ACOS is 24. And let's assume your new to brand ACOS is, your CPG brand, your new to brand ACOS is 80, 90. That's a good ACOS. And you see Amazon business at 24% ACOS. You see it here, only 3 clicks, but 5 purchases. ACOS is like 0.3, or here 12 clicks, 3 purchases, 57. The natural reaction to that would be, let's increase the bid modifiers because it's working so well. The ACOS is so low. Let's push bids, let's push budget, let's get more of that good stuff. And the thing is, that's also what we did. That's exactly what we did, and I don't blame anyone to do so. The problem is there's currently not a good way to analyze if that is incremental or not. And incrementality is what I've been trying to talk about already since a while. It's about what is actually moving the dollars for you on top of anything. And what you can see here is a couple of weeks, and you can see total B2B sales here in the top kind of on top of the bars. And you can see our B2B ad spend. And you can see what we did. We analyzed, we saw, hey, very good ACOS on those B2B modifiers. Let's pump it up. Let's bring up the B2B ad spend through these modifiers, increase the modifiers from 1 to 50% or whatever. And what happened was that ad attributed B2B sales, the purple bars on top of them, they grew. And when we looked just at the ads, it was like amazing. We did a very good job. Thank you, guys. We improved the modifiers. Now our B2B ads are up. Amazing. Let's tell the client we did an amazing job. And then I was like, okay, but let's look at the total B2B sales as well. Let's see if that was incremental. And there's no way to look at this. You need to pull, there's not even a report where you can pull the B2B ad sales. You need to pull your bulk sheets. So we pulled bulk sheets by week to get actually that data. We pulled the business reports where you get the B2B sales. We put all together. And basically, when you look at financial week 6, we had 10,000 and then 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Nothing has happened. Actually, what happened was our ad spend was up 70% on the B2B. Our organic B2B sales were down because basically ads just cut in. There was no incrementality. Total B2B sales have been flat. There was some down weeks here, but total rather flat or even down. And our ROAS has gone down from 15, 13, 10 to 6, 8, 7, 8, 8, 8. So ROAS down, B2B, total B2B. So here, the original idea from, hey, low ACOS, let's bring up the modifiers, didn't really work. So what I want to tell you with this, don't blindly just look at ACOS. Look at your real incrementality. And sometimes it's not in your advertising reports. Sometimes you need to be getting a little creative. Probably there's I don't know, Demian, if you guys have something that can analyze something like that, or maybe something is coming, but you need to look at incrementality, guys, and not just at ACOS and advertising sales, because that's, not the reality.
Yeah, small spoiler, we are currently working on incrementality analytics. So it will be available in My Real Profit in a few months, I believe. Yeah. But the big insight here, first of all, I don't think a lot of people know how to pull the B2B advertising sales. So you can only do it through the bulk sheet. That's number one. Number two, you can use the business reports to pull B2B sales. And then you can map all of that together to see if you guys are actually cannibalizing your own organic sales or your advertising actually brings you more customers. So that's a big insight from this part.
Yeah. Thanks for summing it so well together, Demian. This is amazing. All right, let's move on with more placement modifiers. We still have plenty of time. I think I can make it through all the slides, Demian. So let's talk about placement modifiers. While we already talked about Amazon B2B modifiers. So this is another example of what I typically see in accounts. And placement modifiers, I hope everyone is aware of what is a placement. Placements are top of search, rest of search, and product detail pages. And there's also off Amazon placement, but they are not in the placement reports, not in those within the campaign. They come through placement reports. And we cover off Amazon a little bit later. And typically what we see, and everyone knows this, top of search is where you have the best conversion rate, where you have the best CTRs. However, you also typically pay the highest CPCs. Then you have rest of search, which is a little lower CPCs, a little lower CTR, a little lower conversion rate. And then you have product pages, which is typically the worst placement of all. CTR is like super bad, and conversion rate is like also not really good on average. And typically what you will see in a campaign that is not much optimized, or where people leave the adjustments all at 0 or something like that, you'll see something like that. Product pages 0% adjustment, you pay 135, your ACOS is 52%, while the average is 41. And because that is already at 0%, now the question is, how can I bring it down? I want to bring it down. This is too high. ACOS is higher than the average. I want to bring it down, but I cannot there's no negative bid adjustments, right? So Amazon bid adjustments only up. There's no bid adjustment on Amazon that actually lets you manually change it down. They removed the last one on sponsor brand campaigns some months ago. On some legacy campaigns, this is still active, and you see them, but you cannot set negative adjustments anymore, only up. So what are you doing in such a situation where your product pages are at 0% adjustments? However, they are terrible. Your ACOS is 200%, while all the others are at 100. There's only one way you can work this out, and it's not necessarily through the placements, but it has to do with the placements as well. So what you need to do, or what you want to have eventually, so there's two options. Option number one, you want to eliminate product pages. So you want to bring down your base bid as low enough that product pages are not eligible for impressions anymore. For every keyword, there's a drop-off, a cliff, and it's different for each placement. If your bid is not high enough, you're not getting impressions. This can be $1, $2, $3, depending on your actual product and search term. But there is a certain moment on when your keyword and your placement combination starts to get impressions. If it's too low, boom, nothing happens. And that really depends on the market and so on and so forth. On some keywords, you can still win with 10 cents bids in Germany or France. In US, I think for 10 cents, you most likely are not able to get any rest of search or top of search placements. You might get some product pages for some long tail keywords. Anyways, okay, so there's two solutions. Either you want to bring this down to completely zeroing it out, meaning you're not getting any impressions anymore, or you want to try to balance this, right? So kind of, bring it up. So, and the solution for that is you need to bring down your base bid. And this is like a very, very complicated looking slide, which I just updated today. So there's many different levers that Amazon introduced on the campaign level. And what I typically call the base bid is what you set on your keyword or your target. So let's assume you have one campaign, there's only one keyword inside. Best product is your keyword. You set a $1 base bid. Now you select some bidding strategies, which are, bringing the bids up and down. Then you select your placement modifiers that we just talked about, product page, rest of search, top of search. You select eventually some audiences on top and B2B adjustments like the business we talked about. There's also a new one about videos. It's crazy. So many multipliers, so many plus options. And if you want to bring down your product page and it's already at 0%, the only way you can bring down that traffic or reduce the traffic is by reducing that base bid. So you need to bring down your keyword bid, which is very obvious, right? So if it's at $2 and you're spending and your ACOS is 200, then you need to bring down your base bid to $1. And the thing that most people don't think about is, if I bring down this base bid to $1, then all the other effective bids on the other placements will also be brought down by that amount. So if this was like 100% on top of $2, then this effective top of search bid was $4. But if I bring down my base bid to $1, then my effective top of search bid now is just $2. And if I just change this one, then everything will get impacted from that. So what you need to do, bring down the base bid and increase top of search and rest of search. So you need to bring those back up, like I did here in this example, right? So I'm using 600% here, 400% here, 300% here for top of search, 100%. Don't be scared to use high numbers of adjustments. It's just mathematical. You know, you look at your base bid, $1 plus 600% top of search means my effective bid here is $6. I'm paying 6.8 because there's, you know, some other modifiers, like I explained, you know, audiences or not. But that's just the way how you need to think about. And smart optimization tools have that built in, but I have not seen any smart optimization tool that does both, that can handle both. Typically, they either handle just the base bits on the keywords and they don't touch the modifiers at all, or yeah. So takeaway here is this is actually the most important place to adjust your bids. What I typically recommend is find your base bid that fits to all of your placement. Let's say $1, and then you just adjust here. This is where you adjust. You keep it at $1, and then you just adjust these things up and down, because this is where your ads show up, and this is where you actually decide, you know, am I driving conversion, am I driving traffic or whatnot? And it's not the base bid. The base bid is affecting everything else, and you need to work on these modifiers. Even though it's a little bit tricky at first. Little side note: I built a little tool on our website where you can put in your bids and you can put in your adjustments, and you'll see your effective bids by each of these placements. So you can play it around, just figuring out how those will look like.
Wait. Where can we find that?
You should be. I hope it's up on our website. I think it should be live there. I haven't checked since I created it some months ago. So when you go to wearesync.com, I have a selection of free tools, and there should be a bidding simulator tool. I hope it's there. I haven't checked it, to be honest, before the call.
I will copy the link and I will paste it in the chat. So if anyone is interested, they can click on it. Okay, thanks.
All right. Next up, VCPM campaigns. If VCPM, for those that are unaware of what this stands for, is viewable cost per mil. Cost per mil is like cost per 1,000 impressions. Mil is like I don't know where it comes from. I think it's like Latin or whatever. I'm not sure.
I can tell you, it's mile. You know, like we have kilometers in Europe, and in America they have miles. So I believe that's the idea.
Okay, and there's like two payment options on the marketing side. Typically, either you pay per click or you pay per view, and views are typically paid in $1,000 batch, right? And that's why cost per mil, cost per 1,000 impressions, and viewable because they only charge you for what was viewable in the viewport. Anyways, there's currently two ways on how you can set up a campaign that is actually using this on Amazon Ads. If you do DSP, typically they are all on CPM and VCPM. If you run a sponsored display campaign, you have the selection options here to select conversion optimization, page visits, or reach. If you select reach, you can see this is your cost type that you're getting, VCPM. The same is for sponsored brands. If you go for grow brand impressions, then you pay for impressions. You're not paying per clicks, you're paying per impressions. Same as with reserve share of voice. You're not necessarily paying for clicks, you're also not paying for impressions, you pay for something else. However, those cost per view are unfavorable for most sellers, unless you're doing above 50 million a year on Amazon in revenue. Then those are typically not your optimization strategies. And the reason is very simple. A, they're optimizing on views and not on clicks. And B, the attribution is completely different. They look at 40-day views. So if somebody saw an ad 14 days ago and bought your product, the ad will still get attributed revenue. And there's reports you can pull, and I did that for a client, and these are the weeks here. So you can see this is a sponsored display campaign. There were like two types of campaigns they had set up. One was running on VCPM, and the other one was just running on the regular CPCs. And when you look at the typical report metrics from Amazon, which is total costs, total units sold, total sales, then you would say, let me look at my VCPM campaign here. And it's, I hope you guys can see it. So total cost of VCPM in that time frame, $700. Total sales, $32,000. So that is like an ACOS of, I don't know, it's a very good ACOS. $700 investment, $32,000 in revenue. Now you look at the CPC, $651 investment, only $503 in return. You would say CPC sucks, let's all go for VCPM. But now you pull all the metrics that Amazon allows you to pull. You look at just click-based, just sales that actually happened after somebody clicked on an ad and not just saw it somewhere, because when somebody just saw your ad, imagine I'm going on Amazon, I'm not clicking on any ad. I'm like a ninja. I'm just clicking on all the organic placements and then I buy. But somehow a sponsored display VCPM campaign was in my viewport because there's always an ad on the product detail page, on the top stripe or under the buy box or somewhere else. There's always something visible. I just saw that. It didn't influence my purchasing behavior. However, Amazon said, you saw my ad, this is my sale. So it's attributing it to the VCPM campaign, even though I didn't even interact it. And the campaign most likely has nothing to do with me buying the product. Still, Amazon says, gotcha, this is my sale. And you can demystify that by just using sales from clicks and sales from views. And you will see sales from clicks on the CPC is exactly the same amount, 503 and 503. Makes sense because it's a CPC-based model. And when we go to the VCPM campaign and we look at how many sales we made from clicks, then basically this whole thing switches around a lot. And we only made $285 out of the $700 we invested. And you can see it down here where I compared it. Sales from clicks, ACOS on the CPC was 129, still very high. Still, please go optimize those campaigns. But the VCPM was with 250% ACOS, even worse. And this is kind of where I think Amazon is not making a good job educating people about how this attribution works, and people don't understand how it works. And they just look at this left side because that's what Amazon shows you. And then they say, wow, my campaign has 5% ACOS. Let's pump the budget and let's pump the bids. And typically it's not incremental. This is not incremental for most sellers.
I do have a question. It's not related to VCPM campaigns on Amazon, but
Yes.
what's your take on DSP? I think a lot of people who are watching have mixed feelings about DSP. So I would be curious to hear your opinion.
Mixed positive feelings or
mixed means they're slightly positive, slightly negative, but it's in between.
I think it's similar to this VCPM discussions. DSP is like an engine, a programmatic platform that is typically not for smaller brands. You cannot. It drives eyeballs. It drives views. It can work if you're a big brand and you just need more branded search, for example. But then you also need to invest the money into that. $10,000 a month is not what typically drives the needle on Amazon DSP. So we have been, when I was working for Frasio years ago, we had DSP running on almost all the brands. We had it on 100 brands. At the end, we only had it on 5 brands or something like that. And we did like tests where we invested like 150K in DSP for one product over 3 months or 2 months, like a flight, and where we saw meaningful results actually coming back. But it was a huge project. We tracked every metric available, lifetime value, whatever. And still, it was like, it's not profitable enough. we shouldn't. We need to tweak it again because the profitability we expected was not high enough. So I think if you're a seller doing less than, I don't have like a benchmark, but if you do less than 10 million a year on Amazon or 20 million a year on Amazon, then probably DSP, you don't need it. Invest your money into influencers, TikTok or whatever. I think that's
We have a question from Bryce. Hello.
yes.
What about DSP running bottom of funnel retargeting only for abandoned carts?
That's a very good tactic you can do. However, you can also do that on Amazon with sponsored display campaigns, because what you can do, you can set up a AMC audiences for abandoned carts or for people that put something into the cart and didn't purchase, and then you can target those people with sponsored display. And the benefits of using the sponsored display for that is A, you can do it on a CPC model. B, you don't need to pay a DSP fee, because running the DSP is not just the marketing and the media budget. You also pay a fee, like a seat fee. You pay the agency 10%, 15%. I don't know what you pay, but I know what I would pay as an agency to just get a seat. And those fees need to be paid from somebody. And this is typically the seller. So DSP is, if you really need a lot of eyeballs and you're kind of maxed out on Amazon, all the searches are covered, you're maxed out with the visibility there, you maxed out, then you go DSP. You can run bottom of funnel retargeting, of course, that makes sense. However, you need to think about, can't I also run it on sponsored display, kind of the same tactics, and then have a CPC model, have everything in one placement? I don't need a different, typically it's like maybe another agency that you need to handle. It's another person, because DSP is like very complex. It's not as simple as Amazon. It's kind of a different environment, a different platform. And yeah, if you just run retargeting only, then maybe I would say challenge that. Try for a month running it just on sponsored display with AMC audiences and see if you get the same results, and then make a decision.
Nice.
Always test. There's no right or wrong in life. It's everyone is.
My opinion is also very similar on DSP. I would say DSP is a part of multi-touch marketing. So outside of Amazon, if you're trying to sell your product to a cold audience, you need to have several touches with one person. Yeah. And then DSP is just one of those touches. Yeah. So, and usually it's like what people write in the books. It's 6-touch marketing. So think of that. Someone needs to touch with your brand at least 6 times to make a decision to buy your product, and DSP just will be one of them. So when I see brands just running Amazon DSP, obviously for some companies it will work, for some companies it will not, but it also highly depends on what kind of activities they do outside of Amazon. Yeah. Okay, so we can move forward because
a small fun fact, because you talked about the 6 steps. Years ago, I was working in an agency, and we had a car manufacturer as a client. And selling a car, they typically said there's 100 touch points before somebody buys the car. So it's not just 6; it's like 100, because all these ads that are on TV and wherever, so many touch points. All right.
I think it's maybe it's correlated to price. Yeah. So the higher the price, the more touches you need to have.
Yeah.
Maybe that's also a pretty good take. So depending on what's your product price, you need to increase the amount of connections with the potential prospect.
That's a very good take. Yeah. The higher the price or the more complex the product is, the more introductions you might need, the more upper funnel activities you might want to do, also on upper funnel keywords. But all right, how much time do we have? Like 10 minutes, right? Okay. I have 3 more things. One is sponsored prompts. This is for US only right now, but it's a new thing, and Amazon is pushing Rufus, and Amazon is pushing prompts, and last year Amazon introduced sponsored prompts, and now you're paying for this. That's why I put it on here. If you're a European seller, don't worry. Right now, there's no sponsored prompts in Europe. I just saw yesterday that sponsored prompts are now coming to sponsored brand campaigns as well. So currently, they are only on sponsored products, and you can find them there on the ads as well. And there's a report you can download. And for those people that don't know what is a sponsored prompt, when you use Rufus, and Amazon tells us everyone is using Rufus and everyone is buying through that, which is also something I'm a little bit doubting. However, when you use them and you ask it something, Amazon gives you product recommendations, and they can look like that or like that, and they can also be sponsored. And you are sponsoring them. You're not actively deciding if you want to sponsor. Amazon is deciding for you that you are sponsoring it. The only way you can do right now is you can opt out after. It's like a weird system. So Amazon introduced that. People are typically also not searching for something in Rufus. They get these suggestions. Eventually, you click on a suggestion as a customer, and then you get a sponsored answer from that. And Amazon decides who's sponsoring that, and eventually your ads are doing that, and you're unaware of that. So what you should do is, and I've not seen huge amounts of spend there, but it just started. So I would say, hey, go into your reports, ask your people, are we actually spending there? How much are we spending? So this is where you can find it in the sponsored ads reports. You go down and you'll have prompts, and then you get by campaign. You see how many clicks did I got through these sponsored prompts? What was my spend? Sales. Obviously, I made a pivot here, and then you can look into everything that either is high ACoS or everything that didn't got any conversion. And this is more like a quick tip. And then you go into your campaign, and this is like where it gets a little granular, because there's no way you can actually turn it off on account level, or turn it off at all, or there's no way to see them. You would need currently to go into each of the campaigns. Maybe there's an API solution for that, I don't know. But you'll go into your campaigns, you go into the ads, you go into prompts, then you see your prompt, you see your costs, and you can turn it off. Very manual, but check your prompts. Maybe you already spent a couple $100 there. If so, and they didn't convert it, then maybe it's a good idea to turn them off. That's how you save money. But if you turn them off, it doesn't mean that this campaign cannot get new prompts. So eventually check back this campaign, because Amazon could decide, hey, there's a new prompt that might fit to this campaign and this product. And then it pops up here. That's what it makes it really weird for me, because you don't have any control about it. You have like this little control lever here, but Amazon can just come up with a new prompt. They are also AI generated, and then they decide that you should sponsor it, and then it's a sponsor prompt. It's yeah.
Do you have anything else related to sponsor prompts? Because I wanted to also share my opinion. So my opinion, I get a lot of questions what I think about Rufus overall, and those AI questions. And I know a lot of people in Amazon space were pushing this topic very hard by saying like, Rufus is the future and so on. Here is my belief. It's very difficult to change customer behavior. I think it will like take generations to change people from, looking like people are used to shop on online to see the products they click and they see more detailed information. So there's already a customer journey that it's like set up as a fundamental in our mind, and changing the behavior is very difficult. It's almost not possible, and it takes years, decades. It's better answer, decades. So as you can see, Rufus is now more implemented as a helper to answer some questions to look up in your listing. And that's also why people use Claude or GPT. They use it to find information easier, because the first solution that was on the market, which is Google search, is not as relevant, because there is a lot of SEO topics, whatever. So when you feel bad and then you start typing in Google something, most likely you will get some sort of websites that tell you that you have cancer, you're going to die tomorrow, because this is how some SEO optimized pages are forcing you to schedule an appointment at a doctor. And that's why people start to use Claude or ChatGPT to look up more pages in one and find more information. And that's similar to Amazon. So Rufus, I believe, it's used on a different level of the funnel. It's not exploring your product. It doesn't help you get more visibility. It helps customer to make a decision faster. But now we are going back to incrementality. Does it actually help increase my conversion rate or not? So guys, if your goal is to like get better visibility with Rufus, I don't think it will bring you more visibility. If your goal is to get better conversion rate with Rufus because it's going to navigate better through the questions, maybe yes. So far, I think that the shoppers are not ready for that. I think it just, it's overcomplicating things, and maybe, the way how Amazon reports Rufus, that it's being used everywhere, it reminds me Amazon Go store, when it was like fully automated store, AI store, and then we found out there is 1,000 people somewhere like in India and Philippines that are operating the tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I also don't trust all these Rufus numbers that Amazon's putting out for stakeholders. I think it's like just like some AI washing somehow. If somebody clicks on price history on Rufus and then makes a purchase, Amazon would claim Rufus did it. Rufus helped the customer make the decision. Maybe he would have made the decision anyway. So who knows? And obviously, it's easy to claim it once somebody interacted with the tool.
However, there is one use case where I believe Rufus is used very actively, and it's a price history. Yeah. They basically added Keepa inside of Amazon and do it through Rufus. So that's, I believe, is what it's.
The real question for me when we come back to the ads is that I have a strong opinion on these sponsored prompts because Amazon should help me selling my product. Why do I need another dollar? I already paid that somebody came to my listing. Now they're on my listing and they look for, does it actually log in moisture? And Amazon should just answer that. But I need to pay another $3 that Amazon actually tells the customer about my product. I mean, that's absurd. I already paid the tax. So I already brought in the customer. And now I need to pay another tax so that Amazon helps him find that detailed information. I mean, come on. How many fees you want to add on top of the sellers? I just don't like it. And let's see how it turns out. It's still in beta. It's still early. Let's try to save money by not activating those things that are not working. All right, last topic, I think, and then we are covered also from a timing perspective of Amazon placements. This is very quick. It's another thing you can find in the placement reports that was hidden here. So there's also a placement report you can download, or you use My Profit. You'll get an insights into off Amazon there as well. And typically what you'll see is off Amazon doesn't work well. ACOS super high. It's not a lot of spend. Sometimes, it's 1% of spend. At Frezy, I was tracking this a lot. We had roughly 1% of spend going to off Amazon, and ACOS was typically very high. But we had some brands where it actually did well. And there was also a few occasions when we had tentpole events, Prime Day, Black Friday, or whatever, where off Amazon would actually be a very good conversion driver, and where conversion rate was above 5%. Typically, conversion rate on off Amazon is like below 1%, maybe 1%. However, on tentpole events, this took off on some of our products that were on deal during that time. So I wouldn't say off Amazon super bad, never use it. You can also not completely opt out of that. So it's another thing from Amazon. The only thing you can do, and again, this is also not available via bulk sheets or bulk options. Inside the campaign, there's a setting you can say limit my off Amazon spend. Limit means reducing, doesn't mean zero. So Amazon decides how much they still want to put you out there. Or you can say increases. Increase reach is the typical standard setting. So you would need to go in, set limit, and then your exposure will be limited. You have less Amazon off Amazon. Pro tip here, if you have enough time or your team, if there's a tentpole event and you run the best deals, you change it, you increase the reach. After that, you measure how your off Amazon did before, after. If it did well, put it in your playbook, repeat.
Nice. So let me summarize it. By default, limit of Amazon spend to this setting. When you're running a best deal, try change it to increase reach. After best deal ends, bring it back, analyze results. If it works, repeat.
Yeah.
Nice.
However, it's a small lever. So if you don't have enough time, you don't need to do it. It's a small lever. However, if you have a team that can work on that, give somebody the task to just change it, analyze it. I think it's like a simple lever. Right. Last slide, if I still can do, and this is really just one slide. Don't always opt in for the new features. Amazon brings in always new features. One of the last things have been reserved share of voice. The thing that you can do there is you can buy top of search impression share for a fixed price. So you go in, you define a time frame, 1 month minimum. You can go 3 months, and then you decide your keywords, typically branded keywords. So what you want to do there is high brands have this, I want to have a high branded share of voice. So reserve share of voice comes in for those brands. I can pay a fixed fee. I don't need to take part of the auction anymore. I don't need to change my CPCs and my budgets. I just pay a fixed upfront fee. Amazon tells me exactly how much I need to pay. For this brand, we needed to pay 45,000 for 1 month. This is 1 month of price to get this branded share of voice reserve. Amazon tells you you're not getting 100% of impression share. They tell you in the details you're getting a high impression share above 90 or something like that, but you're not getting 100%, not guaranteed 100%. So they leave some room that also some other people could kind of take, the top of search for the sponsored brand placements for some reason. And what you should do here is, if you're really interested in that, and for some CPG companies could make sense, because plannable. Big brands love to plan. They want to plan ahead. What do I spend next month? What do I spend next quarter? And this is perfect. You can plan it because you have a fixed price, you pay it, and then you lay back. Nothing to do anymore. You cannot optimize anything there. It's a fix. It's an interesting thing. However, this is the cost of all the sponsored brand defensive campaigns for that brand. This month, 12K, the highest month, 38K. And this is what Amazon is asking for 1 month. So the question is, is Amazon eventually, do I really need to pay that high price? The answer might be no. Maybe you're better off just going into the auction, eventually bidding with some others on your branded terms that you will be winning anyways.
You see, Amazon needs to show better earnings every quarter for their stakeholders. So it's challenging. So they come up with very interesting ideas. Yeah. We also have one more comment. Hello from Italy. Hello.
Hello.
I'm currently based in Spain. I'm traveling. And Alex, you are?
I'm also currently based in Spain.
Nice. So hello from Spain, from both of us. And also, fun fact, we know each other for years. We never met in person. And even if we are in Spain, we were not able to plan the trip to meet because it takes several days to meet. Now
we're not on the same island.
Yep.
Which makes it hard.
One more question. Is it possible to receive the file that you showed today? So I would ask maybe
the slides? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I can share them. Ideally, if you want to have this, I don't know how we want to do that, Demian. Do you want to send it around? Do you send an email? You want to send it? I can give you the files, or people you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me there, and I can send you the file, or you write me an email, or I don't know. There's multiple ways how we can do it. But if you plan to send it around, then
we will do an email blast to all of the people that signed up for a webinar, and we can also include the presentation in that email. Oh,
awesome.
Thanks. Okay. Maria, I believe she will connect through LinkedIn. Great. Alex, thank you so much for sharing all this value. I think there were a lot of practical takes from this 1 hour webinar, or we can even call it workshop. And thank you guys for watching. If you're watching a replay, feel free to reach out to Alex if you do have any questions. Also, if you guys are not my real profit clients, you need to fix that. You need to at least start the free trial, because you see best performance in the world are using our tool. So you need to be one of them.
It's a very, very good analytical software. I can guarantee you, you're not going to be. Everyone that I showed the tool to is amazed by it. So feel free to test it.
Nice. Okay, Alex, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all your questions. And see you in a month approximately. Bye-bye.
Hasta luego.